Hello, everyone. I'm Sheldon Barlett Rumor, and this is it. This is take two of providing you the morning message for today. This is episode number 165. I popped in a little bit earlier, but there were some technical difficulties on LinkedIn, so I'm hoping that this resolves all of that. Not sure if it will, but I'm going to keep trugging along. As you guys know, I'm the executive producer and CEO of This Is It Network. We are your global digital TV network, connecting remarkable women to inspiring stories. We do that through our growing community, our engaging content, and our real connections. My hope is to join you each and every day for this morning message, good morning, in order for you to find your voice, for you to tell your story, for you to no longer whisper your wishes, but for you to scream your dream. Today, we're going to talk about your value. Today, we're going to talk about your value and what that means for you and your community, what that means for those that follow, fan, and like you, what that means for the transactions in which you create, for the services in which you provide. Good morning, Chris. I think it's so important that we know our value. We know how much it is that we are looking to charge those in which we provide products and services. Good morning, Dana. What it is that we are looking to do. Hello, Lisa. And I think that ultimately it's about making it make as much sense for you as possible for the value of what it is that you're bringing to the table. And I know Lisa and Chris and Dana and all the folks out there, Donna, etc., all the folks out there that are establishing your rates, you're establishing what it is that you're offering. You're establishing what it is that you're doing. Hello, Miss Bales. You're establishing what it is that you are coming up with and where it is that you want to fit within the food chain of things. But keep in mind, both Old Navy and Louis Vuitton, both are established brands. They're just falling in different parts of what it is that they are doing. So if you are choosing, right, to be Old Navy of things, there's nothing wrong with that model in the analogy. We're just dealing with volume as it relates to what it is that we are offering. We're not dealing with $3,000 items. We're selling things $19.99 at a time. And you have to determine what it is does that look like. But even at that item at $19.99, there's value to it. There was time spent to make it, to sew it, to distribute it, to sell it. And I think so often we forget about our value. And we're giving things away and making things happen. And that's okay because we have to provide some for free value to a number of different people to help build our communities. But when you're in the negotiations, Latanya, how are you? Latanya, how are you? When we build our negotiations, when we're talking about what it is that we want to do in life, when we're focusing on building our businesses, we must address our value. We must be able to identify for ourselves where we fall in that chain. Again, both successful, both Old Navy and Louis Vuitton, but different price points as it relates to the items that they offer. But each of them understands the value within their respective price point. They offer and understand who it is that they are. Now, this may not necessarily be for those individuals that are solely entrepreneurs. This is the value of you when you begin to negotiate your raise, right? Or when you begin to negotiate that new job, or the value you provide on your time when allocating it to family and friends. We must identify our value. What it is that makes the most sense for us in this day and in this space, what it is that we are going to give in order to receive, what it is that we are receiving for what it is that we give. We must establish our value. Because if we don't know how we are to be valued, neither will anyone else. We must set the tone for our expectations on compensation or rewards. We must set that tone. You know, I think a lot of people go into scenarios like, what do you want to pay? Right? Not necessarily being able to set the tone and being able to understand the market. Now, believe me, market research is necessary. What are people paying for the service in which I provide? For sure. But then there's also undercutting yourself and taking whatever you can out of desperation. Right? I was that person for so long in my life. And in some cases, I revert to her. This person that takes whatever it is that's available and doesn't value herself. Desperation does that to you. When your stomach is growling, it does that to you. When you got to pay a bill, it does that to you. You're like, okay, I'm going to take this now in hopes that I won't get stuck here in the valley. And then what ends up happening is that your price point becomes the valley. and you're not able to pivot and excel and move forward and move up because you're stuck in a space where you've already pigeonholed yourself in less of your worth. And so I want you to think about how you value yourself today, how you value what it is that you are doing, how you value what it is that you are bringing to the table so other people can value it as well. So you can broach the conversation with clarity and determination and very, very succinct price points. This is what it is that I am charging, and this is what it is you're going to get in return. This is the time in which I am spending with you, and this is when I'm leaving. And it's a way of setting boundaries and realistic expectation and making sure that the people that are in your space are feeling good about your contributions or your future contributions, and you're feeling really great about theirs. Whether it's monetary or it's not, the value needs to be there. The way in which you function and how it is that you navigate your space so people know exactly that you value yourself and that you expect value in return. We undercut ourselves in so many ways. And I think that as episode and segment number 165, if you can believe that, 165 times I've shown up in order to provide you with inspiration and hopes to keep you staying motivated. But all the while not necessarily tapping into your value proposition, what it is that you bring to the table, the value that you offer. And are you standing in that value? Are you making sure that people know the value of your time, of your product, of your service? Are you ensuring that people are clear that your time means something? That the time that you allocate for something is just as important as the money that you spend or the cost of goods? Is that time spent in family and friend or personal or professional? The same applies. How are we going to make sure that we're valuing, who it is that you are? And so many of us allocate our time and allocate our energy here, there, and everywhere, and then are feeling very taken advantage of or disconnected to the time spent. Where did my time go? What do I have to show for my time? What value do I now have? What do I have tangible to take away from me? We must know who we are in our services and products. Yes, my darling, Lisa, always so good. Because it's really important, because if we don't do that, if we're finding ourselves constantly like, we'll take whatever you can get, I'll give you whatever or not, blah, 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 blah. How many of you out there are yesers? Constantly saying yes to obligations that have nothing to do with you, or spaces that you can easily say no, which is a complete sentence, and say, this is not for me, I am not available. But what ends up happening is that we constantly keep saying yes. Yes, I can do this. Yes, I can make this happen. Hey, Mary. Yes, I can do this. Yes, 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 yes. And then we feel depleted because we have not measured our value. We have not valued ourselves, and therefore no one else will value us either. There is something to not always being available. Then the time spent when I am in fact available becomes even more so special. And it's so funny because those of us who give, the givers, right, that are out there, those of us that are constantly providing ourselves and making ourselves available to people, feel as if in most cases we're the least appreciated, right? I'm always around. Meanwhile, somebody who does one thing is getting a standing ovation and a parade for the little hobby or the little, errand that they ran. It's because they've established their value and their boundaries. And we haven't established our boundaries. And so with that comes us being not only misunderstood, but taking advantage of in this space. Now, the majority of the time, it's not intentional because we have taught people how to treat us. We have taught people our value. We have lessened the value in which we bring to the table and therefore the expectations we have of others. So it's time for us to be able to change that conversation. It's time for us to look at things a little bit differently. It's time for us to be able to evaluate the value proposition in which we have and be unapologetic about announcing that to the world. Be unapologetic about things in which do not serve you, things in which are different. The Louis Vuitton will never be sold at Old Navy, and that is okay. That is okay. And that's what we need to begin to understand, right? And somebody may say to you, oh my God, I don't have the resources for that. That's so expensive. That's okay. because there are other providers that are providing them with resources that could fit their budget. You don't have to fit their budget, right? You don't have to be in that space. And so I really beg you to be able to determine what your value is, beg you to be able to determine what that looks like. Because ultimately, once you are able to establish what that looks like, once you're able to determine what that looks like, you can be able to set forth and let people know and then begin to receive it, right? In the manifestation of all things. But if you don't believe you are of value, if you don't see the value, I promise you no one else will. I promise you, if you don't value your time, I promise you no one else will. If you don't set those polite boundaries, then no one else will set them for you because they need you, because they want your product or service. They need your time. So if you are willing to give it, they are willing to take it. So what we need to do is look at that in a most realistic way and say, you know what, I'm going to set a boundary of this particular price point. And again, I don't care what it is. It could be $2.99, $2.99 if that's what you think makes the most sense. But ultimately, you need to set your value. And that doesn't necessarily mean and solely mean just in business. I'm talking about in the relationships in which you have in your life. You need to be able to set your boundaries. You need to be able to say, this is what I'm willing to do. You need to have no be a complete sentence in the event that you don't want to participate. You don't need to be part of everything, doing everything, be part of every situation if that's not where your energy needs to live. But you need to set that value. You need to set that expectation. And I think it is madness and slightly magic how easy people begin to fall in line when those boundaries are set. They're clear. There's no confusion as it relates to the value of this or the value of that, or did she mean this and did he mean that? None of that happens because we're clear. This is what the price point is. I'd love to work with you. I'm not available on that day. Maybe we can find something else to do. The boundaries put us in control of how we are received. And when that happens, then we can receive exactly what we deserve that gets us closer to exactly what we want. So though it was round 2 of episode number 165, I think it's an important lesson for us to learn. My goal is not to inspire you for one day, but to have you stay motivated for as long as possible. As we connect you to our growing community, provide you with engaging content and real connections, I'm Sheldon Barlett Rumor, and this is it. Thank you for joining me at This Is It Network. For more information, log on to thisisit.tv.com and follow, fan, and like us everywhere you find This Is It TV. All right, guys, I will talk to you tomorrow at 11 o'clock Eastern. Please no longer whisper your wishes. It's time for all of you to scream your dream. Take care. Bye-bye.